It's a pleasure to meet you here in Munich at IAA. And we would like to have just a short conversation with you about yourself, about your company, because we are partnering for the Green Auto Summit. So could you please introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your role as a partner in Plug and Play Tech Center, and also maybe a brief overview of Plug and Play and Startup Autobahn. What are these organizations doing?
Thank you, Michael, for having me and for interviewing me. So I'm Sascha. I've been with Plug and Play for about 8 years now, starting in Silicon Valley, and since 7.5 years being based in Stuttgart. Plug and Play is in the world the biggest innovation platform. We have about 50 locations. We run about 70 plus open innovation platforms where we bring together stakeholders of a certain industry to celebrate innovation, and more than that, to live and implement innovation, particularly with the startup backbone, calling them the new young tech companies, always in specific industry verticals, and mobility being one of our strongest fields. So Startup Autobahn is one of our programs. We are based in Stuttgart. It was our first open innovation program from Plug and Play internationally. So back 8 years ago, we had also like a mobility IoT industry topic in Silicon Valley, Sunnyvale, in our headquarters. And we were working with a lot of industry leaders in this field, big corporations, who said the startup innovation channel is becoming more and more important to them, besides the innovation activities in-house, which keep on being like a main driver for building new technologies. So startup activities, it's not so easy to work with startups, or a different way to work with startups. And we are trying to facilitate that as a neutral moderator and to make this innovation channel efficient.
Understood. And what inspired you to create Plug and Play and Startup Autobahn? Maybe you could share some, your motivations and your team's motivations, why you decided to go this route.
Sure. So as I mentioned, startup ecosystems, they're all over the world.
Yeah.
Silicon Valley, one of the most known ones, but all over the world, Israel, China, Singapore, even here in Germany, Berlin, Paris, you name it, we have startup ecosystems. For a big corporation, if they want to drive these young technology companies, have a look at them, work with them, and ultimately have a result coming out of it, it's not so easy if your engineers are sitting in one place and the startup is sitting somewhere else in the world. So the idea was we bring the two closer together as Plug and Play, since we are, our backbone is a startup ecosystem. And this is what we did in Stuttgart. So the initiator who brought us to Stuttgart was Mercedes-Benz, known as the inventor of the automobile, as we know it, and also known as a driver of innovation in the automotive historically. And I think I can speak for Mercedes, even though I'm Plug and Play, that innovation is one of the biggest topics for Mercedes. They want to be the leader still in innovation. And there's a lot happening around the world. So how do we make this process efficient? How do we find startups? How do we make the business unit engage with these young tech companies? How do we do pilot projects? And how do we implement these technologies? So kind of, you have to bring the international startups to a place in Germany called Stuttgart, which ask a startup in maybe China or Japan or elsewhere in the world where Stuttgart is, and they don't know. So Plug and Play has built up a great reputation, having in mind the interest of the startup also to not only being able to sponsor them with money, but even more important, to be able to scale, to help them scale their business. And in order to do that, the startup needs the connection to a big corporation, like, for example, Mercedes or Porsche or Hyundai or new companies like Torque, which they're from Turkey, a new electro car from Turkey. But try to find the right person in a big organization, try to establish a project with them, and try to have a result with them. It's not so easy, and it's not always guaranteed that it leads somewhere. So this is the process which we are trying to make more efficient. On the scouting front, we don't have, I say, problem, because we have about 600 plus people worldwide in our organization. About 200, 250 of those people are venture scouts. They're
Wow.
both on the investment side and also on the tech side, being engineers, being biochemists, like with very diverse backgrounds,
Yeah.
experts in their field, and being to see in the individual ecosystems, since we have offices there. So we see a lot. You never see 100% everything,
Yeah.
but we are able to filter out, we think, the, the best out of a big about the big fuss.
Yeah.
And there's about 1 million new startups also a year.
Yeah,
So
so
how do you clarify this,
which
and
ones
how
are
do you
suitable?
filter?
Yeah.
So that we do, I think, quite well. Um, e- Eventually, it's the engineers who are deciding what company they like to work with. So
Yeah.
if we like together look at the best 20 startups which we pre-filtered already in the world, and then with the engineers filter from 20 to the best 6, 5, or 4, which they possibly like to engage with. And then we invite those few startups to
Yeah.
Stuttgart and introduce them, the relevant engineers, the startups, brief them right before,
Yeah.
align them before. If you have a framework where it's preset to work in different stages together, if on the organization side there is defined processes beforehand regarding also the legal parts, the procurement parts, it makes things much easier. And if you have a kind of a timeline where you say, we test each other for a few weeks or a few months, and that is the expectation.
Yeah.
And after that, we say it was either successful, and then we go in a deeper pilot project,
Yeah.
or possibly roll it out or implement in a smaller scale first.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. If you stop it after a few weeks or 2 months, that is also great, because it is impossible to implement all
Everything.
startup technologies
Yeah.
which you're starting. But to tweak this, we call it transfer rate of startups from the POC, proof of concept phase,
Yeah.
we say, to implementation. That is the trick. And we have an incredible success with our partners.
Yeah.
Thanks to our partners also, because we are working greatly
Closely,
together.
yeah.
Closely together. To off about 30% average.
Oh, wow.
On the
That's a very
platform.
high percentage. So you mentioned that there's like 1 million startups every year, and then you have the whole funnel process that involves your partners, engineers, scouts. So it looks like a lot of work is being put into these collaborations. So maybe you could share a success story from your experience that stuck the most to you. What was the biggest success story from this whole process?
So there's many success stories,
Yeah.
and it always depends on the partners, how much value they put in
Yeah.
what fields, right? But since we are also talking about Green Auto Summit, and sustainability is like a future big topic for the entire automotive world, all industry really, as new regulations are being put in place or being activated now, and there's a lot of requirement for reporting, etc. right now. So a great example, I think, is not only when like one startup and one corporate work together on one topic, is also fantastic, but if you bring together the value chain, several partners on this topic sustainability, because you can't always solve sustainability problems by yourself. In some cases, you can with material topics, for example. I have a good example for that too. But uh, for example, when you track the carbon footprint from beginning of life to end of life, then you can't do it as one company in the value chain all by yourself. You need to work together with different industry partners on this topic. So we have a great example, which I love, that an OEM, and this is no secret, so I can tell the name. So it was Porsche, who has the 911 front bumper.
Yeah.
We used it as an example. And we had the materials companies, BASF, who's supplied the material.
Yeah.
We have a tier one supplier, which is Motherson. It's an Indian tier one company who produced that from bumper.
Yeah.
We are missing actually the recycler at the end, but maybe that is coming in the future. But and then we had a startup, because this is a new topic of tracking the carbon footprint. So there's a young startup called Circular Tree, who we worked with all three industry partners together to track the carbon footprint from beginning life to end of life.
Yeah.
I think that was like a fantastic example for green automotive and sustainability topic. Then we have another materials topic, which is a company called UBQ. Or it used to be called UBQ Materials, I think. And what they do is amazing. They bring household waste, they make a thermoplastic material out of it. And this material, you can make auto parts out of it, or other parts.
Yeah.
There's actually Mercedes, big success case. They also featured it in the EQXX, which one of these, which, by the way, the EQXX had 5 startups implemented in that car. That was amazing. So, like, how can you live without startups these days?
It's
and this company, UBQ Materials, also works with many other tier one companies, with other OEMs, and also in the series production. So, like, making use of household waste, turning it into plastic, and bringing it back in the circle. I think that is an amazing. But I think sustainability doesn't stop there with materials and tracking the carbon. It's you see it in the supply chain. If you optimize your supply chain, if you make it more efficient, if you reduce also the carbon footprint, right? Less energy emissions, and also if you can do it by optimizing some kind of supply chain process, and there is so many startups out there which are helping right now with predictive methods on how to route things better, for example, or on predictive for procurement needs, right?
Yeah.
To minimize freight and logistics. So that's another one. I can keep on going.
Yeah.
There's even if you make processes simpler and more efficient, it reduces carbon.
Exactly.
And so they all contribute to the thought of sustainability. And so we are always thinking a little bit more holistic in this process of sustainability. And I think you will be able to see some great young and high-tech technology companies at your Green Auto Summit or
Yeah,
October 4th.
definitely, and it's really great that how you summed up. What does sustainable mean in relation in the automotive industry? Because it's just not about the material, but it's about the whole life cycle.
Yeah, that's exactly, and like coming back to what I just said, it's you have to work together with the entire ecosystem,
Exactly.
with your customers, with your clients, with your vendors and your suppliers. Uh, it's on the top of the head
Yeah.
of all the partners we work with at Plug and Play and Startup Autobahn especially.
Yeah.
And we have partners for materials, also working with LG Chem now, by the way, and the OEMs, the tier ones. So it's enormous, in fact. And in Europe, it will be measured and rated also how sustainability you are in the future. So everybody is a little bit tingly right now, a little bit under pressure to make things happen. And it's a good pressure. It's a positive pressure, I think,
Towards
to
a
achieve,
better future.
yeah, for a better future.
We talked about how your organizations work, how you're helping startups and of course your partners to find the latest innovations and the best solutions for their, let's say, problems or their goals.
Yeah.
Now, as I also mentioned, that you're working with for over 8 years, so this as well quite a lot of time.
Yes.
Especially if we're speaking about e-mobility, it's a really long time. But
Yes.
what do you think the future holds for Startup Autobahn and Plug and Play? What do you see as goals or, let's say, milestones that you would like to hit?
So honestly, when we started this initiative in Stuttgart 7.5 years ago, we were not 100% sure if it's going to fly. Mercedes is now looking at me and said, "What is he saying?" But luckily, we became in Stuttgart the, I think, hottest platform for startup corporate collaboration, because there was a need of the automotive industry who said, we need to find new ways to innovate. We can't only look on our inside. We have to. So altogether, it's not a trend. It's a must. I think it will grow even more in the future. I think everybody realized that in the meanwhile. Some more, some less. So there's in different stages. So a Mercedes, a Porsche, they're very used to work with startups for, I think, over a decade now. But there's a lot of companies out there. They're still a little bit more new to the topic. They might have invested, they might have had a touch point or worked with a startup. But in order to really implement it into your innovation strategy, there's a lot to be done, still for a lot of companies. So altogether, for Plug and Play, for Startup Autobahn, I think the topic, it will grow even more. The services we are providing the partners who are working with us are becoming more and more complex. So not only the basic scouting and having a framework and open innovation platform with exchange. Everything is becoming more focused, more efficient, more thorough, more strategic, with bigger topics and more engaging with the business units to come up with new ideas, looking cross industry also, and bringing partners together to work on things and things. So I think we will continue to grow. You can't ignore this startup topic. Number one. Then more concrete. So in Stuttgart, we are looking to also add heavy duty vertical, working with trucks and mining equipment and so on. And the smart city topic as well, because at the end it's all connected. Cities are also evolving. It will shape the automotive and mobility landscape also differently. Energy companies are involved, real estate companies or construction companies are involved. So it like the entire topic will become, will grow in complexity.
Year by year.
And so we are here to accommodate that. But like Stuttgart was the first international open innovation platform. We are now in 50 locations in the world, and I think especially in these emerging countries, they're seeing that they have to jump also on board. They don't want to miss out.
Yeah, of course.
And India, for example, it's a incredible country with incredible growth right now and transforming itself. The mobility topic is one of the biggest topics there. So, we are looking in that direction, also being the connector globally between companies, between countries, between startups, bringing ideas together, bringing projects together, bringing partners together, and bring innovation with startups to the next level with knowledge sharings, more strategic approaches, etc. So again, this is very kind of fluffy what I'm saying, but if you ask me, we will be in more and more countries, also in we are very well established in like the western part of Europe, but maybe the eastern part of Europe as well. Strong conversations right now with Bulgaria, for example. We just set foot last year in Uzbekistan, which, those are not countries which are normally on top of your head. Just established based in Saudi Arabia, which is, also blooming right now, and with this NEOM smart city which they're building off the ground, etc. It's really bringing the world together on this topic, innovation and startups being a big driver in that regard.
Speaking about startups, in the automotive industry, what do you think are the main obstacles that they are facing when trying to get in contact with the big players like OEMs or tier ones?
So I mentioned earlier, when the startup is approaching Bosch or Mercedes or a big organization like that, they have to find the relevant person. So they have to see how they convince that person to maybe do a project. So there is these approaches, right? You can't ignore them. They will be there anyway. If there's Startup Autobahn exists or Plug and Play exists or not, there will always be these individual outreaches. But I think what we can offer the startups is to make this much more fluent, much more effective, and with the hopefully outcome at the end. So we are having about 70,000 plus startups in our database right now.
Oh, wow.
We are invested in 1,600 startups. So we have a portfolio of 1,600 startups. We have about 31 plus unicorns in our portfolio, which is very good, right? So with that comes an immense amount of experience and knowledge on how a startup operates, on how to rate startups, at what stage they are, etc. on the diligence part. So if a startup comes to us and we think it's a right fit for one of our partners, we have about 600 plus partners worldwide, the biggest corporations in the world, and we do the introduction to the right person who decides whether to turn it into a POC and to see whether to work with it further. That's heaven for startups. And we don't want any shares from the startups. We are doing the startup a favor.
Yeah.
And that is unbelievable for, we're helping them to do business development very effectively. And that's why the startup network loves us in general. Yeah.
So, so just a last question from my side. So as you know, Plug and Play has partnered with various events, in the automotive industry, like our Green Auto Summit. And could you share the benefits that Plug and Play see in collaborating with these kind of events, platforms, summits, and what are your personal expectations and aspirations for the Green Auto Summit?
Yeah. So, like, we with Plug and Play and Startup Autobahn, we're very focused for success for our partners and the startups we are working with, for sure, right? But there wouldn't be any startups if there wouldn't be ecosystems where they can thrive, right? And there's a lot of ecosystem players. There's a lot of like accelerators, early stage accelerators, which is not, it used to be our focus, but it's not anymore so much our focus. There's a lot of innovation programs. There's a lot of events about innovation, about sustainability and stuff. At the end, it's an ecosystem. The ecosystem connecting people, connecting experts, connecting startups and partners. We complement each other, right? We help each other and we thrive together. If you take components out of the mix, you wouldn't thrive as much, you wouldn't get connections. And this is, we see ourselves as a part of the ecosystem. I think we complement it very well, especially when it goes into this international stage, because we are very international established, right? And and again, like we have our focus with corporate services and also investing in startups. But with the Green Auto Summit, you're bringing in also a special expertise, special speakers, opening the mindset of a lot of people and bringing ideas to life. And so, like, whether it's the Green Auto Summit, which I'm really looking forward to see you there, or an event like the IAA, which it's about showcasing new technologies developed by the tier ones, by the OEMs, etc. It's one ecosystem. So we are happy to be part of it.
Perfect. So Sascha, thank you so much for your time. It was a huge pleasure having this conversation at the beer garden at IAA. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you again in Stuttgart this October.
Fantastic. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Sascha.